Hello everyone. Welcome to GVGCast, episode 58? 56. And I got it wrong. It's already that kind of day. I'm your host for this episode, Steve Bowling. I'm joined as always by my good friends and GVG co-founders Ash Paulson and Derek Bittner. And you can't see them, but we have not one, but both halves of the Good Vibes Arcade crew. I'm talking, of course, about our art director, Daniel Alba, who you can see in the flesh all the way on my right, and Brandon, Voice of God Miracle.
I'm a
Master Chef and Master Cameraman.
I would, yeah. You go watch their dubious food video. It's really cute, and I don't mean that in like a condescending way. It's just legitimately cute. It was a lot of fun. I finally got to sit down and watch it. That food looked terrible, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, if you didn't have food to screw up on, it's dubious food.
Yeah. It was great. I really enjoyed that video, and that one's been in the can for like months now. Because Daniel was there a long time ago.
It was 5 months ago, yeah.
We gotta make another one now.
Yeah. Honestly, the food has probably grown a bit more dubious since then. But we've got a lot to discuss on today's episode. So we're going to cut the usual introduction short. We're all happy to be here. We're obviously doing this on Thursday because it's Tears of the Kingdom Day tomorrow. Woo! And we all know where we'd rather be.
We're all getting sick.
Yeah. That trifluenza, man.
Woo!
I got the jitters real bad.
It's hard. I feel it in my controller.
I don't get to play it until Monday. I hate you all. I can't play it until
I'm
Monday.
so sorry, Ash.
I've already played it. I couldn't wait. I went full weeb. But anyway, let's bang out. Before we do that, we have a sponsor for this episode, as we do for all episodes of the GVG cast. I'm talking, of course, about our good friend, The Game Orb. And if you don't know who they are, let me remind you. The Game Orb is a YouTube channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. With games like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu can be seen on the channel along with others. The Game Orb will now be adding Splatoon 3, Super Mario Sunshine, and Fall Guys to the gaming collection. And they've got a little something new that they would like us to show you. So we're going to go ahead and roll that clip right now. Ooh, man, that flurry rush at the lightning strike was dope. Thank you so much, Eddie, for sharing that with us. They're going to be showing new 30-second clips of their highlights, just like that one on their YouTube channel. Please go check out the new playlist when it goes live later today, along with just subscribing to their channel, turning notifications on. They've been supporting us, so show them your love over on their channel as well. We couldn't do this without them. They help us keep the lights on, and they've been sponsoring us since the very beginning. So again, like and subscribe to the Game Orb. We've got a link in the description or in chat if you're watching us live here on YouTube. But thank you so much for supporting us for all these years that we've been live. That's a weird thing for us to say. But we've got to jump right into it. I'm going to read out a few super chats, but here's how tonight's episode is going to work. We are going to shed blood tonight. The five of us on the panel, the co-founders, the Good Vibes Arcade, we are going to determine the best Zelda game of all time, and we're doing it speedrun style. We're giving each game a whopping 3 minutes before we've decided its placement.
Wait, are we only having one S? Because you're saying the best game of all best Zelda of all time. Are we just having several S's? I think that
I think it'll be several S's. We're not going to go so far into the weeds, but we're doing a tier list, right?
Yes.
And clearly tears and blood will be shed here tonight. But let's go ahead. I'm going to pull that up right now. Let's get on to the battlefield before I read a couple super chats out.
Nervous.
Let's see. I had to create a whole new scene for this in OBS, so I don't know where it is. There it is. All right, we've got our tier list up. We start off with 3 super chats from Disney Duncan, totaling $9. Thank you so much for all of those. I'm going to read them out. First one reads, Dawn of the Final Day, 24 hours remain. Yep. We're here. It feels unreal.
Honestly, it's crazy. 4 hours remain.
For me, it's -1 hour. I'm 1 hour into the game now.
It's
Dawn of
copy. You don't count.
Day.
My controller hand was shaking when I had to put it down to start this show. Disney Duncan came back with $2. Getting my copy tonight at 10. I think a lot of us are. I was going to, but then I kind of got the shakes and realized that if I did some eShop trickery, I could end up with a Japanese copy that I could play right now, which I don't recommend. It's worse having to start it and then put it down.
Oh, yeah.
Shouldn't have done that. I shot myself in the foot on that one. And finally, with $5, wrote, GVG, what type of lightsaber would you want? Normal, 2, aka dual wield, double bladed, or a Kylo Ren looking lightsaber? I'm a fan of the original lightsaber, and just so you all know, in the interest of time, as the host, I'll just be answering these tonight. But I think I speak for all of us when a lightsaber of any kind would be really cool. But so thank you for the super
I would
chat.
cut
I'll
my
take one.
arm off with any of them.
True. My lightsaber farts. I don't know why I admitted that, but anyway, if you know, you know. Let's see. Raul Santana dos Santos with 11 Brazilian Real wrote, can't believe I was fooled by my fave YouTubers last week when I asked if there's any last GVG cast predictions before Tears of the Kingdom. So here I go again, but with another question. Any DLC ideas for Tears of the Kingdom? That is a big discussion and one that we probably can't fully have until we've played the game. Give me the aliens from Breath of the Wild. I still want to see those.
Uh-huh.
Brand new area where it's Link turns miniature and there's a Minish Cap area.
Ooh, Minish
Ooh, I
Cap
like
reference
that.
would be cool.
I love that.
I can't leave this one to just me. How about you, Daniel?
Oh God, I was gonna do Minish, but I was like, okay, I don't have to say anything this time. Go ahead. Do you have anyone, Ash?
This is so me, but I would love an optional like music player DLC option just to see what it feels like going around Breath of the Wild's version of Hyrule without the ambience, but like Link to the Past's overworld theme or something like that. Wind Waker's, something like that.
And Brandon, I think we need to do a check on if you're alive, my friend.
I'm
How about
here.
you? Okay, excellent.
Let's see. I think they should add a motorcycle and make that DLC.
Original.
Unheard of. It's only ever.
Nice.
All right.
Something playable Zelda, I think, would be something that we can do. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
playable Zelda would be rad.
that would be
I still
the
kind of
fun
hope there's like a
game.
playable sequence with her in the game. I don't think so, but I hope there is.
I hope.
Yeah.
All right, and before we hop into the show proper, one last one. Jaden Buck with $5. Crazy Question Fridays on Thursday. Crazy question number 82. If we ever get a Breath of the Wild 3, how do you think they can top the first two games? Man, you're early. You're really early on
I need
this
to
one.
play this
Yeah.
one until I can see how they do that.
I
More
don't know what they
powerful
do in
hardware.
this one first.
More
I'm
powerful
gonna
hardware, 60 FPS. There you go.
better hardware, 60 FPS. Light and Dark World make a return.
Ooh.
That's
No,
Like
there you go.
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
Anyway, that's enough of that for now. I'm gonna read more super chats as we go on, but we have a whole lot of Zelda to argue about, and we're starting with the OG Zelda 1. And I'm just gonna throw out my opinion first on this one. I think this is the baseline for Zelda games, and I think in a grading tier, that's a C. I think just the average Zelda game.
You know, I actually agree. I originally thought I would have rated it higher, but I've been watching Maximilian Dude play Zelda 1 for the first time. Completely new playthrough, hadn't played it before, and I'm used to it. We're all used to what to do, but if you have no idea where to go, what you're doing, some of that game is so obtuse, and it hasn't aged well in that regard.
I've watched that. I actually watched the entire playthrough myself.
Oh.
I'm surprised how much he did discover. Just
Me
using
too.
base stuff
Yeah.
and tips. You know what?
Mhm.
It was actually more playable than I remembered, which is why I'm kind of leaning towards a B. But Daniel, Brandon, I don't want to take up you guys' time either.
I think Daniel
I
has
also
bigger
played this
opinions
for the first
than
time
me.
this week, and I'm gonna say this is probably still a D tier for me. It doesn't matter
Ooh.
if you
All right.
whether or not it's a baseline. It is not a baseline. This game is not very well designed in many places. Many other games did.
Wow.
Made up conventions. You
Ooh.
probably would say Link to the Past is more so the baseline game, but this one not so much.
Ooh,
just
I
hope that we
hard
get into
disagree
what it
on-
starts off as and where it led further on beyond this. But it's hard to go back to. I'll say that much.
I'm with Daniel. The second half of that game is bad. It's just not good.
Damn. What about the
Ooh.
second quest?
Okay, so hold on. We have two C's, a B, and two D's. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
so.
It seems like it.
Well, that's a bigger spread than I thought.
That is way bigger than I
We're
thought. So
already
here's
drawn blood.
I'm gonna offer one short argument. Is that I heard Daniel say that Link to the Past is the baseline for Zelda, and that would to me say that it exists somewhere between the middle and the worst Zelda games.
Wow, I could not.
And
More
I
so it
couldn't
starts
disagree
anymore.
with that more because I think
Yeah.
A Link to
More
the
so it
Past
I,
is
I think
exceptional.
he intends it more as
This
this
is
is
more
like
so-
the establishment of Zelda as a
Like,
as
that's the
tropes.
real beginning where the conventions would carry on from that point forward.
See, but I would argue that A Link to the Past used Zelda 1 as a baseline for its own design because they went to
I,
Zelda 2, which we'll discuss in a minute, and they were like, ooh, we missed. And then they went back to Zelda 1 and said, let's improve Zelda 1 and base that game on this. But I'm good with... honestly, I don't have a dog in this fight necessarily. I feel like a B or a D is fine with me.
I'm not going to push it, but I would go B just because it is the first. It established a lot. It is massive for its time. Going back to it now,
Sure.
definitely it shows its age, but I think it's more playable than you'd think. Although Daniel just went through that experience, so I don't want to say one way or the other. But I think
Fair.
I'll take myself out of the race and say we're evened out. So I think it's probably a C.
I'm good with either a C or a B. I lean
I
more
think-
towards C, but I can go either way.
Okay, I think we're hearing more people advocating
Time.
for C than D. All right, C. We are doing
right.
C. Let me pull that up here.
No.
I just realized I accidentally pulled our logo across the screen.
Man, I did not realize you had that. I have to watch that, Daniel. I did not realize you had that bad of a time.
Oh yeah, Brandon knows. He was my.
You
nanny.
should have been there.
Oh man,
Don't
Oh,
worry, it's on our
man.
watch channel. Would you
did you give
All
him
right.
any hints or not?
I
All the hints.
was basically his GPS through the entire experience.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh,
Turn
geez.
left.
Okay.
It's more so the difficulty and unfairness of certain enemies later on.
Dark
And
All
Nuts,
right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Any,
Yeah.
Oh, Dark Nuts are the worst.
I'm
in
going to
that
grab
game.
one super chat here.
All right.
RecBCQ, $5. I just beat Breath of the Wild with all the shrines and memories less than an hour before the show starts. First time seeing the true ending,
Nice.
and it was great.
Congrats.
Congratulations, and what a time to do it. You're going to roll right
of
into
game.
the sequel.
You're right on
Yeah.
top.
That is a great way to do it. All right. With that out of the way, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Let's get on to Zelda 2. Let's get 3 minutes on the clock. I'm gonna go round robin style on this. So Ash, why don't you do opening arguments for Zelda 2?
All right. So this game is considered one of the, if not the black sheep of the series for a reason. It is pretty much that. It obviously is a side-scrolling adventure with experience and leveling up, a complete departure from Zelda 1. It is also way too hard. It needs a major difficulty rebalancing. That said, I do enjoy going back to it once in a while. I have finished it a couple of times over the years. I don't think it particularly holds up that well. And I do see it as a step down from Zelda 1. But I do also appreciate its merits. But I would still probably put it either a C or a D myself. I just don't think it's, compared to its competitors, it kind of comes up short, in my opinion.
All right, Derek, how about you?
I see. Having done the research for the history video, I never realized that Zelda 2 was never meant to be Zelda 2. It was just a spin-off because they could wanted to do the combat system of Zelda 2, which is why it feels so different. It wasn't until later it's like, you know what, this is enough that we can make it. So it's a completely different team. So it almost feels like outside of Miyamoto, they're starting from scratch again, and yet you can still see the improvements. Now, even Miyamoto is a bit down on this game because he didn't push it as far as he wanted to because the NES wasn't powerful enough for it. I think it's a lot less cryptic, which I think helps in a lot of ways, but the dungeons maybe are not as memorable because the live system, I think, is the biggest detriment to this game. And the fact that the restarts, and it's so brutal in that way. I think that's where it holds it back. And honestly, I'd put it kind of equal. It's equal, but different to the original Legend of Zelda, in my opinion. It really is just a flavor thing. So I'd put it at a C.
Nice. Daniel, let's hear from you. Did you play this one recently too?
Well, Brandon and I just started playing this today, so I have to let Brandon say his thoughts first.
I think overall, this is a more fun gaming experience than Zelda 1. Its gameplay is actually really engaging for its time. They actually built a combat system that I think holds up. But there are other things about it that, draw it back. Link's melee range is too short, so that makes the game unnecessarily hard. I think if you added an extra couple of pixels of length to his sword, the game would be significantly better. But I agree with the cryptic dungeon design. That's not so great. I'm kind of with Derek. I think it's pretty even, though I would personally say this is a better game.
Ooh.
All right,
right.
Daniel.
Yeah, because we're like, there's some areas like Death Mountain that even just watching is just painful because there's some unforgiving
Yeah.
sections of this
It was
game
bad,
that
yeah.
makes it hard. And like with Zelda 1, the sword reach is so small, is so short. You have to be very precise, and a lot of it's so unforgiving. I've played this game as well, but just not to completion at this point. That's actually the one Zelda game I have not completed all the way through.
Real quick, Steve, rapid 10-second thoughts.
My first Zelda game, I enjoy it more than Zelda 1, was the basis for a lot of names for things that persist now, even in the series.
True.
I
Town
put
names.
it ever so slightly above Zelda 1.
So where are we
Right.
all at? It sounds like we're still all at C.
Sounds
think
like
we-
about a C.
All agree this is a C tier game, even if it would be like a C plus if that existed.
But by the way, this is tiers in reference to other Zelda games.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah,
of these games
not-
are great,
yeah.
better than most other
Yeah,
games.
these
on
would
their
all be
respective
S tier
systems.
otherwise. Like,
Oh yeah.
Right. For sure.
all right, folks.
Really
Okay.
isn't a bad Zelda game, let's be honest.
Yeah, we're gonna grab one more super chat and then we'll move on to Link to the Past, which I
Oh man.
might be a slam dunk, might be an all out war. Let's find out. Dion Hun, I'm gonna say that. I hope I got that correctly. With $5, wrote, "If the Legend of Zelda had a crossover, what crossover would you like to see?" I'm gonna throw this out for every single possible crossover. Star Fox. I want aliens in
Ooh.
Breath of the Wild already. Make them Team
my God.
Fox.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty
Sure.
cool.
Like, could you imagine you just bust out of a temple and great foxes in the sky above you for no reason?
Because of the whole thing with Ocarina.
Seeing,
Yeah, that's true.
Seeing Lincoln and Pit fight in Palutena's Smash trailer kind of makes me want a crossover between Zelda and Kid Icarus, just so they can be dual pro tags, because I think they play off each other well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be rad.
Yeah.
One of them would have to say something, though. I guess that would be all Pit.
It'd be all
It'll
Pit.
be all Pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to think about a game that's kind of like Dragon Quest Builders, but Zelda instead, like after the Calamity, building up
Ooh,
Hyrule
there you
again.
go.
That would
Oh,
be
that'd be
rad. I'd
That'd
love
be
that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. It's time for arguably one of the most iconic games in the series, and we're doing it round robin style. So, Derek, let's hear your opening argument for Link to the Past.
So I came into Link to the Past quite late. I first played it on Game Boy Advance and didn't quite get through it. I kind of got stuck, but I came in later with the eShop right before Link Between Worlds came out and really enjoyed it. You can definitely just see the atmosphere, where it all came from. Like it really is just firing on all cylinders as one of the best games on the SNES. It's gorgeous. There's so much to discover. It improves just about every aspect of the original Zelda. The only thing that kind of they weren't able to keep is the open nature to it. It's a lot more structured this time. You can still kind of go out of order, but it's definitely a lot more linear this time around, which I think helps it because you're more guided and you can still figure out where to go and what you're working with. I think this is. I feel like people would kill me if I put A tier, but put it at A tier. But it's definitely at least an A tier. But go ahead for now. We'll debate that later.
All right, Daniel, you're next up.
Definitely the part where Zelda began to come into its form, like the form that we know and recognize today. Definitely super influential at the time. This game is very well loved. I love the game as well too. It's not something that I got into at the time either of the SNES. I got into it as Derek did with the Game Boy Advance. Still, all that regardless, there's a lot of games that still I would prefer playing before Link to the Past. As far as gameplay goes, as far as like how the lore is told and everything, I would probably put this at a B tier for me.
Okay. Brandon, where are you at?
I don't want to like repeat basically what Derek said because I'm pretty much in complete agreement. But I will add this that I think Link to the Past was a great start in introducing story in a meaningful way to the Zelda series. It balances that really well. You get that opening credit that kind of explains the backstory, and then you really don't get any more plot until the end. But just the way the world is structured and the things you learn from the NPCs and everything, it makes a believable Hyrule, which is the first time that they accomplished that. So for me, this is an A, easy A.
I am in full agreement with Brandon. Like literally everything he just said. So I'm just gonna say co-signed A tier for me. Very easy A tier, and I'll explain more as we get further in the discussion. Ash, how about you?
I'm going to be the lone holdout. I love this game to death. It certainly is a formative game for me. I loved it back as a kid. I still love it now. It feels like it hasn't aged at all to me, and this is the easiest S tier for me. It's one of my favorite Zelda games of all time.
Ooh.
It is probably my favorite 2D Zelda of all time. It goes back and forth between Link's Awakening, but yeah, It's not my favorite game ever. It's up there, but it is one of the games for which I feel like there are so few things that I can knock it for. It's so well polished and so consistent in what it does, and I think this game is phenomenal. There are very, very, very few things wrong with it. The ice dungeon maybe is one of the few things before it was kind of made a little bit easier. But yeah, I think this game is incredible, and I think it has aged like fine wine, and it's an easy S for me.
As I'm hearing it, we have a handful. Derek is kind of vacillating between A and B. Brandon and I are hard A. Daniel's a B, and Ash is voting for S. I feel like A is the middle ground.
Yeah, it feels like A's the middle ground there, which I think is fair. I think that
fair.
works out because I think there are better Zelda games, but as far as establishing, as Brandon said, what Zelda would become, this is it.
Boom. Link to the Past gets A tier. A respectable showing for one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's grab a couple.
I'm looking forward to our future fight, Ash.
Oh, I know it's coming. I know it's coming.
All right, let's grab a couple of these super chats and then keep going. Jacob Tucker with $2. Happy Zelda Eve, GVG. Can't wait for this game. Neither can we. Some of us didn't. Anyway, Disney Duncan with $2 more. 1, Breath of the Wild. 2, Wind Waker. 3, Majora's Mask. Let's see how that shakes out. But thank you both for the super chats. We're going to keep arguing. It's time to fight. Next up, we have Link's Awakening, which I feel is going to spark some interesting discussion. All right, Daniel, it's your turn. What is your opening argument for this?
Sorry, my auto cut out. What game were we on there? Right now?
Oh, we are on Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening. Okay, so I didn't get into this game until the Switch version. I never played the Game Boy version. So Switch version is the only one I can really comment on and say. But very lovely, charming, small little game that really encompassed just the weirdness that Zelda can become, and I think that it's very special for that. It wasn't ashamed or afraid to go into weird territory with like all the references to other Mario games, just around Nintendo games in general, and a deeply engrossing story that as you realize what was going on, it made you very sad. Like I go an emotional. This was the game where I imagine people really started to get emotional attachment to characters like Marion, for example, for obvious reasons. And that game, I really do. Man, I know the Game Boy Color version is not as accessible because of how you're swapping items so many times, so I can't really comment on the frustrations people had with things like that throughout that game. But for me, for what I experienced, I would probably put it at a B tier for this game, for what it has become and how it's remembered as.
Nice.
Brandon.
Am I next? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I couldn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in agreement with Daniel. I did play the original, and I mean the original. I played it on Game Boy, not Game Boy Color.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it is rough only having 2 item slots and your sword being attached to one of them. And the game yells at you every time you try to pick up a pot and you don't have the bracelet equipped. It yells at you every time you pick up a power acorn and the other defense one or whatever they are. I don't remember. It just a lot of slowness in those elements, but like the game world and the actual story, the dungeon design, I think is pretty strong. They make up for a lot of that for me. I think I'm in the minority when I say that I do prefer the Switch version just because of those couple of things. I think it's just a smoother experience because of that. But yeah, I'm also willing to put it firmly in B.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, I've had this game forever. Here's my like 30-year-old copy. It is charming. It's whimsical. I mean, it has freaking Kirby and Chain Chomps in a Zelda game, which I really enjoy.
Oh yeah.
But and this is why I put Link to the Past at A tier, because I believe that it's firmly a cut below A Link to the Past, for all the reasons Brandon mentioned. So for me, if Link to the Past is A, then this has to be a B. Let's see. Next up would be you, Ash.
I love this game. The rest of you have already gone over its flaws, and that's definitely fair. I think the one about only having 2 buttons in the Game Boy version isn't necessarily fair to levy against the game itself, because there's more a limitation of the Game Boy hardware. But yes, constantly having to pause and swap items definitely sucks. That said, y'all know me. I am more about how a game makes me feel, and this is the first time Zelda got weird and really emotional, and I love how everything's just a little off kilter. it feels like a dream. Everything's just a little weird, a little creepy, a little odd, but I love that about Link's Awakening. And it's also the first Zelda game that wasn't about Ganondorf and the Triforce story. So I love it for that. It comes very close to A Link to the Past for me. Not necessarily a whole cut below, but it is slightly underneath it. For me personally, this is one of my favorite Zelda games as well. So it would be an S, but I also feel like
Time
A is
Ash.
fair. Okay, A. I'm gonna say A.
Real quick, I'll just give my thoughts. I also played the Switch version and just found myself not really clicking with it in any real way at all. Like, I enjoyed it, but I also didn't come across as a favorite Zelda. However, I cannot understate how much this game brought to the table as far as changing up the establishment of Zelda games, being away from Hyrule, not having Zelda there, not having Ganon there, just changing up so much about it. And honestly, having the most focused story of a Zelda game up to that point. Brandon talked about how you got the story at the beginning and end of Link to the Past. Here you get it in droves, little bits and pieces as the time goes on. So you cannot underestimate it for that. Gameplay wise, I think is where it suffers a bit. Can be a little too cryptic at times, figuring out exactly what combination of items to use. So in that case, I'd also put it at a B.
All right. I think the Bs have it. We've have like 3 Bs, right? All right. So let's go ahead and throw that up there. We're going to bang out 2 more super chats, and then we'll have Brandon give opening arguments for Ocarina of Time. I'm jealous. All right. Novastalgia with $10 writes, "Hi GVG, I'm a freelancer and just got my biggest credit yet with Nintendo Life. We know a little bit about them here.
Yeah.
I write news and features, but also want to do reviews. Any advice on the pitching process? Thanks for being an inspiration." Well, thank you. Nintendo Life is a great place. They were good to me. They were good to John. And I know a whole lot more people who have worked there and continue to work there today. I can't give you advice on pitching them, though. I don't know what to say. They're all great people, though. So if you have an idea and it interests you, explain to them why it's interesting. That's my best advice I can give you. And that's true for pitching anybody. But, good luck. I got my start doing reviews there. So just tell them you want to review stuff and see what they say. But best of luck to you, Novastalgia. And then Pyro Jack Daniels with $5 writes, "Waiting for the midnight launch of Tears of the Kingdom, and no joke, a Tears of the Kingdom bus parked at the front of the store. Steal it."
Yeah.
It's worth more than your
thief,
pre-order.
but it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. With that said, thank you both so much for the super chats. We're going to keep reading out just a couple super chats in between games, so keep them coming in. We're having a great time here. Brandon, let's hear your elevator pitch for your Ocarina of Time.
Before I even start describing it, most of you here probably know Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite games of all time ever made.
Hell yeah.
Ocarina of Time is basically like, it kind of carbon copies a lot of A Link to the Past and pastes that into 3D. And I don't want to knock it because of that. It's like, I do think that's a good thing because they had to translate that entire experience to the third dimension. And a lot of great new things came with that, like spending more time with characters. Like you go to these towns, you go to Zora's Domain and Kakariko Village, and you're not just there, talk to a few NPCs and leave. Like events take place, like you're saving the people. You go to Dodongo's Cavern and you help the Gorons get their food again. So it feels like you're having a real impact on the world, and that's something I think Ocarina does exceptionally well. It also, since it has dungeons in the third dimension for the first time, I think the dungeon design is excellent for a first pass at something like this. Each dungeon feels like a real place, which is not something I can say to Link.
Tree.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not something I could say for A Link to the Past. So because of that, I know there's a lot of personal bias here, but I'm putting this bad boy in S tier.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Man, you and I are on the same wavelength today, Brandon. Ocarina of Time, like Ash mentioned about Link to the Past, it was a formative game for me. If you watch my video on my Zelda collection, it was like the game that turned me into a diehard for this series. So I'm not going to go further than that because we're limited on time. Easy S tier for me. Ash, how about you?
I'm on both of your wavelengths. Ocarina was also a formative game for me. I think it's easy to look back and kind of criticize because a lot of those early 3D games haven't aged as well. But I think Ocarina really has aged surprisingly well, despite its shortcomings from that era. It's the first time Zelda felt truly epic. The past and the future thing, going forward in time, 11 years, or 7 years, was amazing at the time. It still feels cool. I love Ocarina, and I would never put it below A, and I am completely fine with S, right along with you guys.
Nice. Derek, you're next.
Yeah, with it being 3D, it certainly has a lot more jank than A Link to the Past. Let's be honest. I think A Link to the Past, on the whole, probably plays better, just because of the nature of 2D versus early 3D. But as an early 3D game, it does some amazing things. Has incredible atmosphere at times. They nailed atmosphere in so many different ways and places, and just stuffed that game full of dungeons. More than you'd ever expect for a first attempt at a 3D Zelda. I also have a bit of bias here because this was my introduction to Zelda. I didn't really pay attention to the series until I saw this at mall kiosks and just really got driven towards it. It's hard not to put this at an S. But the thing is, I do think there are better Zelda games than this, but it's hard not to put it at an S because of just what it means to the series. And I'd probably personally put it in A, but I feel like S is deserved.
Nice. All right, Daniel, take us away.
It's okay. I'll be the one to put this on an A tier. This one, I mean, it does a lot of fantastic things for sure. But I just think that we're going forward. I don't want to say that this game is overrated. I think it's just probably it's celebrated a bit too much more than I think it needs to be, because there is definitely some things it established. But at this point, there's so many more things that Zelda has evolved into that Ocarina of Time cannot take the credit for. And obviously, like, this is timeless. People will talk about this game forever because it helped make games what they are today. But I don't think I would highly regard it as that far. And of course, there's the whole some of the jank you get for translating a game into 3 dimensions. It's not to its detriment, of course. It has to learn and weave through there, but obviously it made some great strides for its first attempt. And yeah, just wrap that up. That I'll put it at A tier for me.
All right, so it seems like the S's have it because
poor
Daniel's fighting this battle.
I think Daniel convinced me to go to A, but I mean, you guys have all S's, so we're outnumbered.
All right, so Ocarina of Time is going to take its place as the high water mark for now. We may have to sort the S tier out a little bit, but I agree with a lot of what Daniel said, to be fair, and I think that there is kind of a you had to be there factor to it to a degree. But Brandon's also younger than all of us, right? I'm the baby.
Yeah,
Brandon's baby, and I know. So I was surprised. I honestly expected Brandon to go for an A on that one. But all right, let's read a couple more super chats, and then we'll jump into Majora's Mask, which I get to argue for.
Oh boy.
All right, Ryan Hanley with $10. Just wanted to show some support and say that I love the content you all are putting out. Zelda Week has been wonderful. I am happy to be part of this community, and we're happy for you to be part of it. It was
hell yeah,
fun for us to make a lot of those videos. It was really cool to see Brandon and Daniel together making awful looking food. Apparently that tasted pretty good though, right?
I tried.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Gave it your best effort. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Majora's Mask. And I mentioned this in my video for Zelda Week, but I actually think Majora's Mask is a better game than Ocarina of Time. I really love this game, and it's because it takes what Ocarina built, refines it, of course, because it's built using largely the same assets. But the thing that seals it for me is the narrative of this game. Like, we all loved Link's Awakening for being like offbeat, off kilter. This takes that and adds a certain level of just darkness to it. Like, it goes to places like you're dealing with the mortality of everyone in Termina, and there are people who are just resigned to death, and it's like a very memorable story that likes of which, at least as far as I know, has not been replicated yet in series history. They really let Aonuma shine on this one because this was his first game he helmed completely. And I just think if Ocarina is an S, so is this one.
He wanted to, but he was given a year, so it is masterful asset reusage.
Exactly. So yeah, it was either that or Ura Zelda, and he chose to make something new, and I respect that. But Ash, go ahead with your take.
I agree with a lot of what you said, Steve. However, this may be the unpopular opinion. I prefer going back to Ocarina more than Majora. I still love Majora. I think it's great. I love how off kilter it feels. The side characters, all the Clock Town residents, the side quests you get into. Some of them are really sad. and it's emotionally heavy. The whole Doomsday scenario, it's great. However, it has, for me, some of the weakest dungeons in the series, and the whole time limit thing, I get that it works really well for that game, but I've never really warmed up to that element of the game. And so I can't imagine wanting to play it without the Song of Inverted Time. Without that, I would never want to play this game again. But with that, I still love going back to it, just not as much as Ocarina. So for me,
All right.
it's an A or a B. A, probably.
All right. How about you, Derek?
So I tried to play this game when it came out, and I bounced off it hard. I was stressed the entire first 3 days, not realizing what I was getting into, because I was only playing it with a very limited amount of time. So I'm like, okay, I'll play a little bit and save, and then I'll come back to it later. And I could not find a save point. I was panicking as this moon kept going lower, and I just turned the game off and never came back to it. I didn't actually beat it until Majora's Mask 3D, where I finally did have an appreciation for what it brought to the table. And this is less of a Zelda game than even Link's Awakening. The dungeons are weak because they are not the focus. It is all about the side quests, and that's where you fall on this one. You're either all about the side quests and how much they bring to the table, or you're not. And it's just you don't really get into that that atmosphere or whatnot. Personally, even though people think the 3DS version is not as good as the original, I still had a blast with it and easily made it one of my favorites. So I'm between an S and an A, but Daniel, I'd love to hear your arguments.
This is the easiest S tier on this list. I think it's probably the best story in Zelda, and not for the reason you probably would think. I think the collective narrative is why it's so great. It's not just, Link stops Moon from falling. It's the fact that you have all these different characters. You meet them and how they intertwine with each other. You meet Crimea, who's trying to deal with her ranch, but she has her friend Andrew, who's trying to deal with a wedding, but Cafe's been cursed by the Skull Kid, who knows the Curiosity Shop owner, and he knows Sakan, who is stealing the bomb lady's stuff. They all weave together to this world that's alive and breathing, and that's something that not very many Zelda games can come close to saying that they achieve. And sure, there are some dungeons that are not. 3 minutes isn't enough, guys. There's a lot of dungeons.
No, there isn't. You're running out of time.
The dungeons are some of them are difficult. Like, this is obviously a difficult game. You're going from Ocarina of Time to this game, and the dungeons are sometimes a little bit too if you don't know them, like Zelda 1, if you don't know them, you're like Great Bay Temple, that's hard to adjust to. But some of them, like Stone Tower Temple, probably one of the most fantastic dungeons in the entire series from a creative standpoint, and also from structurally, like flipping it upside down. I can't imagine how long it took to build that dungeon, but otherwise, yeah, this is one of my favorite games of all time for the story, the mood, the narrative, and you can become different forms. No other Zelda game can really say you can do that, as many forms as they give you to explore the world with, and it's just super creative and dark, and I just like depressing stories. I'm sorry.
Real quick, Brandon.
I'm pretty much in agreement with Daniel. I do think the dungeons are pretty weak. That said, I agree Stone Tower is one of the best in the series. The side quests elevate this game way above the rest of those dungeons. Like, it's great that N64 had two very different Zelda games that fill two very different niches. And as a pair, they're fantastic. This is an S tier for me.
Nice.
All
right. We've made our way around the world. Where did we land on that? We had.
I think I went with A, but
Ash, what were you?
I went with A. I was probably the lowest on it, but I think the rest were
you,
S.
Steve?
I was S. So we have three S's and
3
two
S's.
A's. Yeah. Well, the S's have it. Let's go ahead and toss that up there. Justice has been done today. Let's go ahead and grab a couple super chats. Arcade Perfect reviews with $5. No CDI games on the list. Those are the only Fs I was gonna say where they'd end up. Like
Faces of Evil, easy S tier, baby.
Yeah. And Sky Ganfor with $2. Thank you for Tears of the Kingdom. Made my week so excited. If you don't know, we did a giveaway in our Discord, and Sky Ganfor won a free eShop code for Tears of the Kingdom. You can find out more about how you can win stuff from us at patreon.com/GVGaming. It's part of our weekly Nintendo podcast that I host called The Win. That's all I'm going to say about it. We don't have time for this. All right.
We're already kind of behind, going longer than we intend to, but I want to have everybody say their piece. Anyway.
Oracle of Ages and Ash, it is your turn, my friend. Let's hear your opening argument.
Oh man, I enjoyed Oracle of Ages. Although I'd say I probably enjoyed it less than Seasons because I tend to like the actiony parts of Zelda a little more than the puzzly parts. And of course, as we all know, Ages is more focused on puzzles. Seasons is more focused on action and fighting and stuff. So I like this game a lot. I like both Oracle games a lot, but this was the less interesting one to me personally. And I do prefer, as much as time traveling is cool in this game, I do prefer the seasonal based puzzles and seasons. So for me, I'd probably put this at a B. I like it, and I certainly don't think it deserves a C. But it's definitely kind of just a little bit there for me. I like it, but I don't love it.
All right,
I
Derek.
guess I'm next.
Yes, sorry, I
so,
should call that out.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I have not played this one yet. I played Seasons when I did the whole thing with John, but what I heard from him, it sounded like I might have enjoyed Seasons Ages a little bit more, just because it seems to be a little bit more focused. But it's one thing I'll say about these two is that very few people have played Seasons and Ages, and that you're missing out. These are really, if you like Link's Awakening, these build upon that with some amazingly, interesting dungeons and building upon that. They're just solidly good games that I put at a B.
Nice. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's kind of unfair to put them together because they're both very different experiences. It's not like your Pokemon Red and Blue. They're actually two different playthroughs of a game. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy what this game has done as well. I always kind of put Link's Awakening higher. I mean, kind of like what Ash said, Ages and Seasons, they're just kind of there as well. I mean, I respect them for what they've done, what they do, and how they interpret different aspects from other Zelda games, like two different types of world, light and dark world, future and past. They do that with Seasons and with the Ages, and I love how they do that in this game and play with it. But I don't know. Honestly, it's not something I would go back to very much. They kind of sit at a C tier for me. I don't know if that's gonna hurt anyone's feelings, and I'm sorry if they do, but that's my opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. How about you, Brandon?
I have to forfeit my vote on this pair of games. This is my only blind spot in the whole series.
How dare?
What
about you?
I'm pretty
We'll play
close
that
to
too,
this.
Brandon.
I'm going to so I own Ages. I have never played Seasons, but I bounced off of Ages really hard when I had it. But that being said, that was many moons ago, and I've not been back to it since. My vote, strictly for the fact that it did not hold my interest back then, would be C tier, because I feel like that's probably where I'm at with it currently, and it may change over time, but that's where I'm at today.
Change over the ages, you mean?
I don't want to think about being old enough to have my life classified by ages.
Fair enough.
I think Ash and I said B, and what'd you say, Daniel?
I said C.
So I think the C's have it in this case. Ouch.
Steve said C. Oh, and Brandon passed on this one. So it's
Recused.
2 B's and 2
Yes.
C's.
So
I don't know.
Brandon,
These games
tiebreaker.
have a much better older brother. I'll just say that.
all right, there we go. That sounds like a C. That sounds like a vote for a C to me.
Jeez.
All right.
All right.
Let's see.
Link's
I
Awakening's
don't
too low.
think we've grabbed any new super chats since. Oh, we do. We have one more. Actually, no. We've got 2, 3, 4. Hey, I love you guys. Thank you so much for all these super chats. I don't want to just be counting them out like, hey, look at all these. But let's see, where are we at? Okay, I got the last one. So, Rec BCQ with $5. The Zelda Cross Kid Icarus is making me think of Link communicating in Yaz. It's the trope where he isn't speaking words, but is somehow understood. That's like a trope for so many characters in Nintendo lore at this point. But yeah, I get it. The Silent Pro Tag thing. We have an old video on that. You should go check it out. One of our first like really good performing discussions we had. And then following that up, Zub Mur with $5. According to reviews, Tears of the Kingdom is more of what I hated about Breath of the Wild. Shocker. Can't wait till Spider-Man 2 and Starfield give me what I want. Well, not every game's for everyone, as we're proving right now. Hopefully you get the Zelda game you're after. But Spider-Man 2 and Starfield, probably going to be great. It's a good year for games, even if Tears of the Kingdom isn't your thing. All right. Well, thank you both so much for the super chats. We're going to keep moving here. Our next game on the list is one that I will have to abstain from because I've never played it, but that is Oracle of Seasons. And with that, it's back to you, Derek. Take it away.
Sure. I'm going to institute a new thing where I give each of us 30 seconds. So I'm going to tell time
right.
on 30 seconds for everybody just so we can keep this moving. With that said, Oracle of Seasons, that's the one I did play through. And I definitely got stuck on a few things. That was me just going back to 2D Zelda and getting into the mindset again. And I definitely struggled with that. But that said, I love what it added. The fact that you had these seeds you could grow in order to get rings that you could equip that changed up how Link played was very interesting. And the dungeons were interesting. The way they handled some of the items were kind of fun. This is the introduction of some of the most fun items in Minish Cap. The weakest point for me, though, God, the final boss sucks.
Oh, yeah.
The final boss is awful in that game. It is so hard and so brutal. I did it, but it was mean. But yeah, I again, equal to Aegis, give this a B.
All right. Go ahead, Daniel.
It's pretty much. I mean, I kind of jumbled mine together with Oracle Ages and Seasons. I would be a C tier for me
right.
for the title. So just to keep this moving.
All right, Brandon, you didn't play, right? And neither did I.
Yep, it's a pass.
All right, Ash.
All right, Ash.
As I kind of hinted at before, I like Ages, but I like Seasons more across the board. I like the season-based puzzles more. I thought it made great use of the Game Boy Color, getting to see all the areas and all 4 season variations. I like the action-based approach more than Ages' puzzle-based approach. I agree with what you said, Derek, about being able to do the rings and stuff, even though that's in both games. I like the dungeons a little more. Just in general, I like this across the board more than Ages, but I so agree. The final boss is awful. It's like the Mega Man 7 of Zelda final bosses. It's such a massive difficulty spike. It makes no sense. And yes, I did have to get Mega Man in there. But yes, for me, this is a solid, I would say, B.
All right.
Yeah, probably B or A.
2 Bs to a C, so I think the Bs have it. Seasons is the better game. All right.
Wow.
All right. Moving on here. Disney Duncan with $2. Best thing about Ocarina of Time, it introduced redeads. Depending on how you view redeads, you may not agree with that.
Right.
And Disney Duncan
I think
with
they're great.
$2 more. I agree as well. So $2 more. How would you rate the 3DS versions of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask? I don't think we have time to get into that, but I'd say I don't think they'd be different. Like, they'd be out of line with where they're at. I think they'd still be S tier because they only got better, really, depending on how you view Majora's Mask. I liked it just fine, like Derek said. And then finally, Oscar Navarro with $2. Which GVG member will likely beat Tears of the Kingdom first? I'd put good money on myself for that.
Steve, yeah.
Easily Steve.
Yeah.
I have.
It took me how many months to beat Zeno?
Same.
Yeah, I was gonna say I ripped through Zelda, and for those of you that don't know, I booked like the rest of the week up until next Thursday off of my day job for this. So I will be playing until I physically can't.
I think it's a race to the last between me and Derek. Or a race to the end for me and Derek.
I'm worried about Daniel, honestly. Daniel tends to rip through games pretty quick too.
That's
like
true.
he popped in like
if it's a game where I can take my time exploring, I probably won't be dashing towards the end.
I was gonna say
Steve might be.
I hear it's like 17 hours to beat the Xenoblade DLC, and Daniel somehow beat it in like 10. He's like, hey, it's been 10 hours since it came out. I'm done.
Than I did. He did like 17
I'm convinced Daniel and Brandon bend time somehow to beat stuff.
Seriously, I feel the
it's
same
a superpower, man.
It really
is. Superpower.
Well, don't worry.
I tell you right now, Brandon, you're going to lose that superpower.
Exactly. Derek said
I know.
Exactly what I was going to say. I'm like,
I'm getting every game done I can in the next 4 months.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to 4 Swords for the Game Boy. That is... Who did the opening arguments for the last one?
I think I opened for Seasons. So
okay, Daniel.
4 Swords. Oh my gosh, I love the 4 Swords series, both of them. Of course, this one is a very tiny Zelda experience compared to others, and it's one that you can really only play with people, which is kind of a bar to playing the game at all. There's a lot of bars to playing this game. You have to have the link cables to properly play through it. If you didn't get it on the 3DS, the time that it was available, it's not available anymore. So I hope you were able to play it when you could. But it sits at a C tier, not because of, I mean, it's not a full-fledged Zelda game. It's more so a side experience to play and enjoy, and the ideas are super creative and expounded upon more in 4 Swords Adventures. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm going to be strict because we're already an hour in.
Sure, man.
Brandon,
I don't have a huge opinion on this game. I first played it with Anniversary Edition. I had Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance. there was just this mode I couldn't play. It was locked to me. I had to cheat in order to get to the Four Sword dungeon in the main game. And honestly, I think that part of it is probably better, just because this was so inaccessible. This is probably C for me, maybe even D.
Yeah, I was gonna say, given the games that are in C tier, I feel like this is D tier for me because it was so hard to enjoy the way it was meant to enjoy. Like they put barriers in the way of it, and even when you got to it, it was a solid C game for me. Like if you played it with all the bells and whistles, it was a C tier. But because those bells and whistles were so hard to get to, kind of takes away from it a little bit. So I'm gonna say D.
Damn.
Yeah, I think Ash. No,
I guess I'll
I'm
go
next.
next. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
sorry.
next. Okay,
It
go
is.
for it.
Yeah, I need to start.
was
I'm
thinking
the only
whether
one that
Ash or
can
me
see
is
our
first.
layout. It's like clockwise, and I just
Yeah.
assume I'm 12.
Anyway,
See, okay.
go ahead, Ash.
Oh, I go. Okay. I agree with how inaccessible it is, and it's obviously a very bite-sized Zelda game, even when you get past all those issues. But man, I was fortunate to have friends that I was able to play this with properly, fairly consistently. And when you do get all that together, it is so fun. However, there's another game coming on this list that does everything Four Swords does, but even better in a full-sized game. So for now, I'm going to put this at like a C or a B. I could go with C.
Ooh.
Okay. With me, I was fortunate enough to play with somebody else once. I got him. It was just 2 players instead of 4, but it was still enough to see how unique this was, and it really did feel like something special at the time because first multiplayer Zelda. It was a good time, but it is bite sized. I think it's only like 4 dungeons at most or anything like that. And I was thinking C, but when they mentioned, like I forget who it was that mentioned like looking at the stuff that's in C tier. For a bite-sized adventure that does something very unique, but also is a very short 1-hour experience, yeah, D.
Ooh, so we've got a couple D's, a couple C's, and a B.
I think it's in D tier because I think Ash was like B or C.
I based on what we have here, I would say C. I mean, obviously, I think Link's Awakening should be higher, but if that's B, then I would put this at a C. But I don't think I'd fall all the way to a D.
All right, hold on. By a show of hands, who has D tier here? I've got it. Derek's got it. Brandon's got it. Daniel, you were at C tier.
That was at C tier for
The
Four
D's
Swords.
have it. We're going by
all right.
majority rule here. All right. So let's go ahead and read out a couple more super chats. Jordan Star with $4.99. Ocarina of Time changed gaming history. Special to many and never gets old on replay. Could be nostalgia. Great stream. Great points all around. Glad to support. Well, thank you. We appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much.
Obviously, I agree with you. I think many of
Absolutely.
us agree with you.
Yep.
And then Left Talks Fluxington. That's an awesome name. $10. Happy Zelda Eve, everyone. Hot takes. Zelda 2 is more fun than Zelda 1. Agreed. OG Wind Waker's pacing is very well done. Depends on the region. And the DS games are on par with most of the 3D games. Whoa, that might be the spiciest take of them all.
One of them is.
We're getting into some things.
Yeah. I'm not going to address that further than just by reading it in the little inline comments I gave because clearly that's what you're here to listen to. All right. We are next up with Wind Waker. And Brandon, you are delivering our opening argument. Take it away.
For the Wind Waker, oh man, I love this game. Wind Waker has
Hell yes.
probably the best sense of adventure a Zelda game can have. Just being on the open sea on the King of Red Lions, it feels great. Obviously, like the original game, it's a little slow when it comes to sailing. Distances can be pretty far, but that sense of adventure is, you just can't pass it up if you ask me. If I were to give this game any docked points, it'd be that the dungeons are not especially great. But as a sequel to Ocarina of Time, that meant so much to me as a kid. As soon as I realized what was going on in the story, I was like, oh man, I'm here for this. I think I'm going to put this in A.
Ooh,
Wow.
okay.
Right.
I was reading that whole thing as an S for a while.
Yeah,
there.
me too. I'm disappointed.
What about you, Steve?
Wind Waker is a top 3 Zelda game for me. It
Hell
is. I mentioned this on Twitter the other day, but I think that Wind Waker is my favorite visual representation of Hyrule and of Link and of Zelda of all time. I think there are games better than it, but like I said, very few. So for me, easy S, like hard, easy S. Because I will tell you, neither of the 2 that we have in the S tier are in my top 3.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
All right. Was it me or Ash next?
I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
Ash.
Okay.
I'll be better about that. I
worries,
drop
sorry.
a hot take and then I shut up.
It's all right. It's all right.
Same as you, Steve. Easy. This is the easiest S for me on this in this entire list, other than A Link to the Past. I love everything about this game. It's my favorite 3D Zelda, favorite Link design, one of my favorite soundtracks in the series. The highs of the story are some of the highest in any Zelda game ever. Twilight Princess wishes it was actually dark the way Wind Waker is. Wind Waker actually is really dark, and when you get into what's actually happening and the way it's a sequel to Ocarina, there's a certain wistfulness, a certain sadness that pervades this entire game, despite how cute everything is and how colorful and vibrant the art style is. That I know one moment you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but when you figure out and you get down there and you're like, goosebumps, holy crap. I love Tetra. I love everything about the Wind Waker. It is one of my favorite games in the series and my favorite 3D game. S all day.
All right, Derek.
This is also my favorite Zelda game.
Ooh,
I
wow.
love the Wind Waker. It was my
Nice.
first Zelda game that I bought myself, and it was me getting into it and just absorbing it. I agree with Brandon. Dungeons are the weakest part of this game,
Sure.
but they're also not exactly a major part in the same way as Majora's Mask. It's all about island hopping, seeing what you can discover about each of those islands and really figure those out. And then the plot just kicks in, and you have these amazing moments of discovering what's underneath the ocean, discovering certain histories, and then the final boss and this Ganondorf. This Ganondorf is the best Ganondorf in the series, bar none. There are none that even come close to this. Tears of the Kingdom, we'll see, but this is the top tier Ganondorf.
Mhm.
Not even close. And the final confrontation is incredible. It's burned to me. I would reload that final save and replay that final fight so many times.
It's good.
Yeah.
True.
S.
Spit and
easily.
truth. All right, Daniel. I think we're reaching a foregone conclusion here, but let's hear your take.
I think with every Zelda game, obviously there's parts of it with every Zelda game that we just don't want to do. Where there's things from the long sails back and forth between certain islands, the fact that you have to do the Triforce quest, which is going to be the bane of everyone's. Everyone's like, oh god, I
Yeah.
gotta do this now every time we do this thing. And then some of the dungeons, as you already said, not the strongest. It has escort dungeons with characters like Makara and Medley, which I think are the weakest part, honestly. To have them to need them to complete these dungeons, but otherwise, still, what this game does is phenomenal. The atmosphere is fantastic. Being on the open sea, exploring all the islands, just the characters as well. They're so colorful, both like as characters and just art style wise. There's no other Zelda game that's ever going to look as good as the Wind Waker, and the GameCube version even holds up so well today. And it's a special place for me to play this game. I would place Wind Waker at an S tier because of all the stuff that it's ever completed and the things that has made me feel stronger than a lot of other Zelda games. And like was mentioned with Majora's Mask, like it's not all about just the quest in front of you. It's a lot around it and exploring the world that's around it as well.
Easy yes, right?
Easy yes.
Easy
Yeah.
yes. Everybody.
Easy S.
Except
Damn.
Brandon, who seemed is positive enough to be an S.
I
but okay.
know.
It's
Yeah.
really just those couple of things that dock it down for me, but I still love this
Fair
game.
enough.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fair enough.
All right, we've got one more super chat to read here, and then we'll keep going. Disney Duncan with $2. Zelda Cross Kingdom Hearts, please. I feel like Ash and
Yes!
Derek would explode.
Oh yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
I'm down.
Not a bad thing, but yeah, keep those super
No,
chats coming.
They kind of seem to fit.
We'll read them between games. This one, our next one is for me. And I love that this one's for me because this is Zelda Four Swords Adventures for the GameCube. And this game, like Four Swords on the Game Boy, is deeply difficult to play the way it's meant to be played because you need the Game Boy, you need 4 link cables, you need 4 Game Boys. It was the most expensive home console game of all time at that point. But
Not in
when
Crystal
you
Chronicles.
do get it working, it's so good. It
Oh,
is
God,
so
yes.
fun to play, and it's like arcadey in a way that Zelda usually isn't. And it made such good use of Nintendo's terrible idea, which was connecting the Game Boy and the GameCube. Like, nobody thought that was a smart idea, but they did it anyway, and I'm glad they did because we got this gem of a game. That being said, it's a smaller experience. It's not meant to stand toe-to-toe with the giants on this list. B tier.
Okay.
All right.
B. Okay. This is the game I was hinting to earlier, of course, when we were talking about Four Swords. I agree with a lot of what you said, Steve. It is so inaccessible with everything you got to get together, but when you do, it is incredible. It is among the best Zelda has ever been when you get 4 friends together and all the requisite equipment. It is transcendent how fun it is, but it is really hard to get to that point. It is still pretty fun playing single player. Not as fun, but it still holds up as a single player game to a degree, I think. And I do disagree, though, in terms of it being bite-sized. Like, Four Swords is bite-sized. But there's more content to this game.
It's like 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah,
it's
actually a lot longer than I would have expected. And I really like this game a lot, but it is too hard for it to shine in its truest form, obviously. So I'm going to agree with you. B, I think, is a pretty good place for it for me.
Nice. All right, how about you, Derek?
One of my most memorable Zelda experiences is playing through this game. I was only 2-player with Some Call Me Johnny, but we did a playthrough over on his SGB channel, just the 2 of us, and that was so much fun. We laughed so hard. I think that's the most memorable thing. It's just, as Ash said, arcadey fun that you can just laugh at with the situations and how you can screw each other over or help each other. And it's just the chaos of that is so unique to this game. And I can't not love it for that. It's not high tier or anything like that, but it might be some of the purest fun in Zelda. Though, what is it? The Village Maiden mission.
That one was awesome. Okay,
that one sucks. That's the worst part of that game by far.
Yeah.
Otherwise, great fun. B tier.
Nice. All right, Daniel.
You need to have all of this stuff to play Four Swords Adventures in its most basic, in its best form, which is unfortunate because there is an amazing game in here, arcade-wise. We're not even going to talk about the story. There's nothing about the story that's worth talking about except that Vati is the main villain and that they should do that more often. But playing it single player is kind of a chore, because you have to be the one singular person. It's kind of clunky. You have to be all 4 characters. You have to constantly switch between all 4 individually to do all the puzzles and dungeons. When you go inside, it actually brings up an on-screen UI Game Boy Advance SP for you to accomplish everything with. It's not as fun single player, but if you do it as a 4-player experience, it's one of the most amazing 4-player experiences you can have with people, because the way that it has asymmetrical design, you each have your own personal screen as well as a TV screen. And just having that with friends makes some of the most fun memories here. As a game with friends, in that experience, that would be an A tier. But as a game by yourself, it kind of falls to a C tier for me. I'll have to put it as a balance as a B tier for Four Swords Adventures, honestly.
Nice. All right, Brandon, take it away.
My first time playing this with a group was actually on Good Vibes Arcade. Played through the entire game with Daniel, Xeon, and John. And it was a great time. That said, it's really hard to make that happen. The fact that it took until 2023 for me to be able to even do it, says a lot about how cumbersome it is to set up. That said, when you can actually do it, it is an amazing experience. I'd probably settle on high C, low B, somewhere in there.
So it seems like B is probably the general consensus around here for this.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. B it is.
Zelda multiplayer just needs to be more accessible.
I know, right?
It truly does. All right, we've got one more super chat from Jordan Star again, back with $1.99. Thank you so much. Who writes, Dragon Roost Island, one of Koji Kondo's best tracks. No argument from me there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff.
Fantastic.
All right, and let's go ahead and keep it moving. We've got Minish Cap, and Ash, that is for you to open the floor with.
All right. I like the Minish Cap. I don't love it, but I like it. I think it has some great dungeons, but there are only 4 of them, unfortunately. And I wish there were a bit more, because I think what's there is really good. The whole miniature minimizing thing and going Minish size, it's fine. It's cool, but it's not necessarily one of my favorite gimmicks in the series. I'm just kind of fine with it. I like it. It's very inventive. It's got some great music. I love the art style. It's obviously based on the Wind Waker. And Vati's, that's a really hard final boss too, especially for Zelda. That last fight is pretty intense, and there's a time limit, which is not normal really for Zelda boss fights. So I like it, but it doesn't necessarily, blow me away. I put this at a solid B, I think.
All right, and Derek.
I love this game. This is the best handheld Zelda game in my opinion, bar none. This outclasses Link's Awakening, the Oracle games. This is the same developers as the Oracle games, and it's just fun. It is gorgeous to look at. Has some fun characters. Ezlo is a underrated buddy for Zelda. He is
Pretty cool.
so much fun, and there's some unique items in here and unique ideas. It is really just fun, and opening up Zelda and whatnot. It clicked with me in a way that a few other handheld Zelda games have, and I adore this game, and I think it's an easy A.
Nice.
All right, Daniel, let's hear your argument.
Minish Cap is definitely one of my favorites of the 2D Zelda games. It's so imaginative and creative in what it does and what it how it executes it. Just because the art style is so vibrant and colorful, some of the best sprite work that we can see on the Game Boy Advance. When you become small, when you're those tiny in those little sections where you're like walking across, the leaves are huge, and you feel that sense of scale on a Game Boy Advance. You really feel that sense of scale. You are tiny in this world, and even though the dungeons are few and far between, I think they're some of the best design ones on the for a 2D Zelda game as well. Just because it does play with the overarching mechanic of having Minish becoming small, and just how that's incorporated everywhere in the world. It's not just a gimmick that you use a couple times in some places and then you never see it again, or in very specific places. They use it very well throughout the entire game, and just the giant choo-choo boss I still remember that, and that was such a clever and unique idea.
I love that.
That sticks out for me. But yeah, I love the game. Ezlo also, I must say, needs more attention and more love, for as snarky as that hat is. But yeah, I put this at an A tier for me.
Wow. All right, Brandon, take us out.
I think this is one of the strongest 2D Zelda games that you can play. I agree with everybody. It's gorgeous. This game does a really cool thing with its story that, as a kid, for some reason I didn't see coming, but when it happened, I was like, oh, duh. But it was awesome. So that's a great point in its favor. It is a little short. I think that's really one of the only negatives. There are some areas in the game where like certain triggers don't take place unless you talk to a person, which I'm not really into that kind of design, because like it's clear what you should be doing, but the thing you need to do, you can't until you talk to the right person. And there's a couple areas in the game where I got stuck as a kid and again as an adult because of that.
Nice.
But still, I love this game. Easy A.
I do not have a vote. This is one of my blind spots. I started playing this on NSO this year, and I haven't.
I was going to say it's on SNSO. Get on it.
Yep, I started a save, and I've been playing it, but I just haven't found the time to complete it, so I'm going to abstain.
All right, that's an A at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like an easy A, and it's only our second in A tier. Let's go ahead and keep moving through the games. This one, I'm really curious to see where we land. It is time for one of the most divisive games in Zelda history, Twilight Princess. And Derek, you have the unenviable task of opening us up for this one.
I have fluctuated so much on this game. I started out loving it, then I went through a phase of like, was it really that good? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? No. I think that was sort of reactionary to that point where I was like coming around. No, I think it is that good, because while it doesn't quite hit the same notes that I wanted out of Wind Waker, the notes that it does hit are very good. The dungeons are probably some of the best in the entire series, bar none. Like they are excellent across the board, very unique, very intriguing. I really did enjoy that. The storyline is, definitely it goes from the more mature adventure type, which works in some ways, but it also kind of falters by the end, which is unfortunate. But there's some unique ideas in there, some fun bosses. There's a section of the final boss that I love to death because it's never been done before, hasn't been done since. I don't want to spoil it, but you guys talk the possession is one that part's really good. And honestly, not my favorite, but it's not bad. And I think there's a little bit more love than it's gotten in recent years. So I would put this at an A.
Wow. All right, Daniel, let's hear your take.
As mentioned, these are some of the most memorable dungeons with mechanics that you use in the dungeons in the entire series. You can use the iron boots as magnets. You can use the spinner. That's the only time you really get to use the spinner. Let's not cut around that. But when you do use it, it's incredible. Snow Peak Ruins as a concept, it's a mansion, but it's also a dungeon. That's one of my favorite dungeons, probably underneath Stone Tower. And like the city in the sky, so atmospheric, so kind of obtuse, but it was very memorable. And this is the game that has Midna, by the way.
Yeah,
this is one of the best companions that Link has throughout his entire series, and just a great character. And to see her grow throughout that story, to see the characters grow as well. They each have they all kind of have their own little arc, at least for the main ones, and it's very unique to see.
Unfortunately, most boring Zelda.
Yeah, you know what?
Just nothing Zelda.
Zelda's just kind of cardboard in this game, unfortunately. She looks fantastic. I love her design, but they don't really use her at all. But I think what it does, I'm going to say that every time, what it does. It's a fantastic game. I love this game. I'm on the pantheon of Zelda games. I do put it about like a low A, high B tier for me for Twilight Princess. I think there's others that do what it sets out to do a little bit better, and it's kind of in the middle for me. That's just my opinion, though.
Wow. All right, Brandon, let's take it away.
I think the game might be a little long in the tooth for my taste. There's 10, 11 dungeons total. That said, they're all really strong. Like, I don't think there's a dungeon in the lineup that I particularly dislike. Arbiter's Grounds is one of my favorite dungeons in the entire series. And not just because of the spinner. I just love the fact that the dungeon's contextual. There's a lot of contextual dungeons in Twilight Princess where it's not just a place that's a labyrinth. It's a place that has a purpose that, that the characters do things at. Like, Arbiter's Grounds is a burial ground, and I think that's cool. A lot of the character designs are really wacky and weird despite the more realistic approach, and I really like that. Mallow always comes to mind. It's this babyface creep who charges for everything.
Yeah.
A lot of great moments. I especially love Link fighting King Bulblin to save Colin. That's one of my favorite moments in the whole series. Just Link being a badass. You don't get that a lot. It's this game is just Ocarina of Time again, and you know what? That's not the worst thing in the world, so I'm going to put it at A. Wolflink can go and never come back, though. I don't care for it at all.
Oh, okay.
I hate this game.
Understandable.
I know you do. I knew you did.
It is such a 2007 ass game. Like, it is dripping with bloom, and it's brown, and it's ugly.
They were
and
appealing to the American audience.
That's the problem. The world is empty, and it comes after Wind Waker, like the brightest, happiest, most gloriously beautiful Zelda game. And then they're like, you all didn't appreciate what we did for you, so here, have your gray brown American Gears of War loving game, and we're gonna make Link super cool. Whatever you guys think is super cool. It feels like they researched this game inside Hot Topic. I don't like it. It's a D from me.
That's so true. Oh,
you don't like wailing the Wii remote to feel like Link.
You can play the GameCube version.
You can run and slash at the same time. No other Zelda game lets you do that. You can mow grass like a badass in this game.
What about you, Ash?
I'm really glad you went before me, Steve, because I felt like I was about to step in it. Now, I want to remind everybody that even the worst Zelda games are better than a lot of other games.
Just saying I'm going to step in it.
That said, this is one of the worst Zelda games, in my opinion. Certainly my least favorite 3D Zelda. I agree with everything you said, Steve. Really, the only two things I love about this game are some of the, well, mainly all the dungeons, and some of them are among the best in the series. That is true. And Midna is probably the best companion character ever that Link's ever had. The rest of it, throw it out. I think that it's the visuals have aged horribly. It's the least interesting design for Link. Zelda is basically a nothing character herself in this game. And like you said, it feels like it was developed in a Hot Topic. It's like dark. It's like dark in a superficial sense. The story's a mess. They took someone who could have been a really compelling, cool villain in Zant and completely ruined and undermined him by the end of the game. I don't like Twilight Princess. Sorry, I think it's still has its merits, but this is an easy C or D for me. Sorry, Twilight Princess fans, not sorry.
Oh, we are all over the board.
Yeah,
I knew
divisive.
this was going to end up like this too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
I did
divisive.
too.
Let's
Especially
see.
following up Wind Waker, like you said, it stands out even worse in that.
So
in
it
that
sounds
way.
like we have a couple D's and a couple A's. Do we split the diff and call it a B?
I
Wow,
think
I
that's
didn't even
what
think
we
about
have,
that. Ash, you're 12.
It's gonna be probably.
What?
Yeah, I mean, mine probably sits at a B rank for me, honestly.
I
So-
think
Yeah.
a B is fair
Yeah,
as like a
because
middle
we're not going
of
to have
the
any
road.
F tier
There's a middle
Zeldas.
ground.
Let's be honest. So I think that right in the middle.
You might be wrong about that, Derek.
We ain't there yet.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
I've got an F tier in mind.
I've got an
for
F
sure.
tier.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
But
So
B?
B, all right. B it is.
All
Let me check on our super chats here real quick. We're
Remove
about to
the wolf and it's a
inflame
better game.
some feelings. Let's
Yeah.
see. So let me take a look where
I
we
let
were
that one
at.
go long because I knew it was going to be one of those debates.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, he's got 3 new ones. I
Yeah,
believe.
I'm catching up to him. Disney Duncan with $2. I like Twilight Princess. It's underrated. I'm sorry. I wish you didn't hear all of what I just said. Jordan Star back again with $1.99. Midna's Lament, one of the best tracks in gaming. I agree that
fair.
there are some great songs in that game.
That's
It's
fair.
just not the game for me.
Yeah. Did you get
and
jack-o'-lanterns, by the way?
I did
Steve?
not. I think
Okay.
chat kind of glitched and flipped over. Jack-o'-lantern G, $4.99. Oh man, I'm so sorry. S tier for me is Twilight Princess. So gorgeous, and wolves are my fave. Lowest is Link to the Past. It crosses into annoyingly difficult for me.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't agree,
look-
but I
with
respect
this
your
many
opinion.
games, you're always going to have somebody with different takes. It's
That's true.
different
Yeah.
time coming into the series. It
We
makes
grabbed
sense to me.
this last one from Toon J with $5. And thank you all so much, by the way. Twilight Princess is an S tier game, except for everything before the Forest Temple. Those parts are D tier. Hey, like I said, this
All
this
right.
is probably the most divisive game in the series. All right.
Definitely.
That being
slowest
said,
opening.
it is time for, I think I'm looking at Spirit Track. Or no, Phantom
Phantom
Hourglass.
Hourglass.
Okay. The icons are so small for me. All right,
know.
Phantom Hourglass. And is that you, Derek, or is that Daniel?
I think I started with Twilight Princess.
Okay.
And Daniel gets.
There we go, Daniel. Take it away.
My audio might not be showing, so.
We can see you.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Things not telling me. Spirit. No. Phantom Hourglass. God damn it. This game. I wanted to like this. This is one of the games I kind of powered through towards the end because there's a lot about it that it changed the convention in Zelda in a way that I wish it didn't. Using the touchscreen, of course, it's like a total Miyamoto idea. Let's have them do this. Let's incorporate this as much as possible. But it doesn't really work for me, honestly. There's so many different ways you could have done a Zelda game on the DS, and doing it like this just wasn't really the way that I wanted it to go. And I know, we'll just get out of the way, obviously, we're all trying to talk about this. The Temple of the Ocean King is one of the most obnoxious structures you ever have to deal with in any Zelda game. Having to go back over and over and again. I understand what they're going for. I don't want it in my life. I know there's good parts about Phantom Hourglass that I appreciate still. There's that one puzzle where you clamp the DS and you open it up again. There's some clever some clever things that it does, but is that my time?
Yeah, time.
I just say I'll put this in a D tier for Phantom Hourglass.
Wow. All right. Brandon?
This game sucks, man. I do like some things about it. I actually do like the touchscreen controls. I think they're interesting if you do them once. Unfortunately, it happens twice. That said, I'm not ready to talk about Spirit Tracks yet. This game is a sequel to Wind Waker, and I think it just does more harm than good, to be honest. there's just not much that's memorable about it. Like the things that I do remember about it are the things that I hated. Like the Temple of the Ocean King, like Daniel said, is just a bad idea. I don't know why they did that. Link looks. I almost said a word I didn't mean to say. Link just looks ugly.
Say it.
Link is fucking ugly. Okay. His character model looks like ass. I don't like it. I'm sorry. F tier.
I mean, wow, F tier. I did not think that was the game that was going to make F tier. But I agree. I think that I'm just going to be honest. This DS duology, I hate it. I hate it with all of everything I have in me because it feels like a game. They always talk about Nintendo. They love to say how they focus on the gameplay and then the technology. They did not do that here. They focused on the technology and then scaffolded a Zelda game around it. And it sucks. I don't like the controls. The controls are the worst. Like, I would probably put this against the CDI games for worst control in a Zelda game ever. I hate it. I can't do this touch screen making Link walk with a stylus BS. D or F for me.
All right.
Ash?
I actually don't mind the touch controls, but that is literally the only good thing I can say about Phantom Hourglass. This game sucks. The Temple of the Ocean King sucks. Wind Waker Link should not have a way to look ugly. As Brandon said, he looks ugly. The soundtrack committed the grave sin of taking the best version of the Zelda overworld theme, which is the Wind Waker, by the way, and making something very forgettable and boring out of it. The story, it commits the gravest sin for a story for me, which is it's one of those didn't really matter in the end kind of things anyway. Nothing really changes as a result of Phantom Hourglass. It ends in the same place it began. The villain is uninteresting. This game is at easy F tier for me and probably my least favorite Zelda game.
It's been a while since I've played, but I remember so little, like Brandon said, except for the stuff I did not like. I don't even remember the design of the Temple of the Ocean King at this point. I beat this game, but I can't remember so little of it. Lineback, fun character.
Lineback
was definitely a fun character in this.
And potentially an alcoholic.
Yeah. But I remember being so stuck on that clamshell puzzle where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything and I'm taking a break and just closed it. And then when I opened up again, came back like 2 hours later, like, it's like, it solved it for me. Now I feel dumb. It's like, it's cool, but it's also that. And the touch controls, I tried for so long to try to get Link to roll. He would not roll for me. I'm not putting it F. I don't think it's F tier. I think there's still some merits there, but it's definitely D.
That's fair, because this is not the game I thought of when I said I had an F tier. That game has still not come up yet. All right, so it seems
have a difference of opinion in the future.
Oh boy, seems like we're all in agreement on a D tier at least.
I would still say F, but I say F.
How many Fs are there?
I say D.
I think
we
there's
got
4
D.
Fs. Oh no, 3 Fs, 2 Ds. I think.
Okay.
Wait, is it
3 Fs or
Fs?
2 Fs?
Me, Steve, and I thought.
No, I said D or F.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah.
You're the decider.
I think it's D.
I'm gonna go with D. I feel like there's
Fair enough.
Because there is something
Yeah.
that I envision as being worse still on the list. All right. We've got a couple of super chats. Let's go ahead and read those out real quick. Let's see. Jack-o'-lantern G is back with another $1.99. The game that beats Twilight Princess for me, Wolves, is Okami. I would not argue that Okami is the better game.
Easily.
Jack-o'-lantern G back again with $4.99. I apologize, I spoke wrong. The one I dislike for being difficult is A Link Between Worlds. I like Link to the Past. I mean, I'm still probably going to disagree, but everybody's opinions are
fine.
valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong opinion when it comes to what you personally feel. All right, so let's keep this going. The next one we have up is Spirit Tracks, and that would be Brandon, I believe.
Trains are cooler than boats that are too slow. I guess I'll just say that. This game has a great overworld theme. One of my favorites, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
It has a great Zelda. Just having Zelda as a companion through the game is weird that it took so long for that to happen in a mainline Zelda, so that's cool that happened here. This game's just better designed than Phantom Hourglass in a lot of ways. It also has a similar dungeon to Temple of the Ocean King, but it doesn't make you repeat those sections over and over and over again. So while it's still not amongst my favorite Zelda games, I like it a lot more than Phantom Hourglass. It is memorable to me. The pan flute controls are awful. This is a B.
I hated Phantom Hourglass so much that I skipped Spirit Tracks entirely. I just wrote off Zelda on the DS, so I can't do this one. Ash, go ahead and take it away.
This is for me an example of one of the most improved sequels of all time. Obviously, I hated Phantom Hourglass, and I went into Spirit Tracks like, I don't know, and it turned out that it's one of the better Zelda games I've ever played. I love this game. I don't mind the train overworld, being guided on tracks. I thought it was a fun twist for that game, and somehow Spirit Tracks ends up being a better sequel to the Wind Waker than Phantom Hourglass did, despite it being a different Link in Zelda. There are some really heartwarming callbacks to Wind Waker characters and story elements. It's got one of the best final boss fights and endings in all of Zelda, period, in my opinion. Great music. It's basically everything Phantom Hourglass wishes it was. Yeah, the Spirit Flute controls kind of suck. Sure, that's fair. But that's really the only thing that I can say negatively about it. I think Spirit Tracks unfairly gets caught in Phantom Hourglass's crappy shadow, and it deserves so much more than that. So this is an easy B, almost an A for me.
All right.
I've played Spirit Tracks, but I've not beaten Spirit Tracks. Oracle of Ages and Spirit Tracks are the only two Zelda games I've never beaten. That said, what I've played, holy crap, the controls are improved so much. They're actually responsive. It feels like you can actually roll and do what you want in order to play through this game. I love the trains. I love, it has that same sort of sense of adventure, even though you're limited in where you can go thanks to the train tracks and whatnot. But there's a nice sense of adventure. It's one I've always wanted to go back to and just haven't had a chance to do so yet. But I mean, it is, I played this for maybe 4 or 5 hours, and I can tell you it's so much better than Phantom Hourglass in just that amount of time. It sticks with you. I want to go back and play it, but it's hard for me to say. I just know C or above, so I can't really give a definitive score as far as that goes.
And Daniel.
Yeah, this game does improve upon Phantom Hourglass, and that's not hard to do, honestly. So, but yeah, Spirit Tracks, it controls better. It just has a better, I don't even know how to say it, like a better feel to it. Because when you're exploring on the train tracks, there's just that bigger sense of adventure than being slowly dragging yourself around on a boat can be in Phantom Hourglass. And yeah, there's just a lot more to this that I appreciate better. Zelda is a great character in this. She's one of my favorite Zeldas because of how funny and quirky that she can be. She's pretty snarky because like I'm dead. But yeah, I would put I mean, it's still not my favorite. I mean, it still has touch controls. It's not my favorite when I would think about which one I want to control Link as. So it's still a C tier. It's a step above Phantom Hourglass, which is still a D tier for me. But yeah, I would place Spirit Tracks at a C.
Okay.
Solid C game.
So it looks like we're looking at a B or a C. Derek, you said C or higher.
I can't give a definitive one. I played a little bit, but not enough to give a definitive answer.
All right. And how about you, Ash? What was your vote?
B.
B. So it sounds like the B's have it, right? Or B's are probably good.
Sounds like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, the B tier is getting stacked. It seems like that maybe is the actual baseline for Zelda. We've got one more super chat. Disney Duncan with $5. Don't like Phantom Hourglass, but I'll defend Spirit Tracks. I love that game. Well, thank you for the super chat. I'm convinced now I have to try it since it clearly is a much better game.
Better.
But
Way
man, I have the distinct privilege of opening us up for discussion about Skyward Sword. And I'm wondering how this is going to go. But Skyward Sword for me is the best narrative in Zelda history. Take every game, every single one. This is the top of the food chain when it comes to actually exploring the lore. And more importantly for me, it laid the groundwork for what is now modern Zelda as we know it. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It was clear that Aonuma had designs to do something bigger, but was limited by the Wii's hardware. Some of the best dungeon design in the games, but like I said, for me, it's all about the origins of Ganon, of Link and Zelda, of the Master Sword. There's so much cool stuff that happens in this game. It's an easy S tier for me. Ash, go ahead and rebuke or rebuff
Rebuke.
rebuke me, man. Go for it. My brain's mush.
I don't think I'm going to rebuke you as much as you might be thinking. Back when I first played Skyward Sword on the Wii, I thought I kind of felt a little mid on it. I thought it was just fine, but what it did wrong was too much for me to fully appreciate what it did right. And then I revisited it with Skyward Sword HD. And while I do have the same criticisms, I hate the segmented world design. The sky is a piss poor take on the Great Sea from the Wind Waker. Everything else it does right really shone for me in Skyward Sword HD. Like, especially with the more powerful hardware, Skyward Sword's art style shines in a way that it never got to in the original version, and it is truly a gorgeous game. I agree with you, Steve. It's got the best story in the Zelda series. I think the Wind Waker comes close, but I agree Skyward Sword takes it. It's got one of the best soundtracks in the series. I love this version of Zelda. It's got some of the best supporting characters. Groose, that version of Impa. I love this game way more than I thought I did originally, and I don't mind the motion controls either. I actually really like them, and I never had those technical problems with them that some people reported that they had. So for me, I went from like thinking this was a C back on Wii to like a B or an A on Skyward Sword. The one thing that I hate about this game is the imprisoned. The fact that you shouldn't, that's a terrible boss fight one time, but 3 times is just embarrassingly stupid and bad. And that's the biggest blemish on this game. But it's still an A or a B for me. An Ancient Sister, one of the best, Ancient Sister, and one of the best dungeons in the entire series. So I'm going to go with like a high B, low A.
Nice.
I fell in love with this game when I played it. I didn't mind the linearity. It was sort of whatever, but I rarely do everything in a Zelda game where I hunt down every heart piece, every side activity, just do everything I can. And I did that for Skyward Sword on Wii. I've not picked up Skyward Sword HD, so I have not seen the improvements or anything like that, but I've never had any control issues with the motion controls. It was fun the entire way through. There are some killer moments in this game. Galactos is one of the best boss fights in the series, bar none. The final fight with Demise is legit challenging and intense and fun. It does so much right and is easily a top 5 game, a Zelda game for me. I just really enjoy this Zelda, and I recognize its faults. I recognize what the issues people have with it, but they never were that big of a deal to me. Not enough to lower it, and it's still an easy S for me.
Hell yeah. All right, Daniel.
It's always interesting to see what games people put story before the actual gameplay for these. And, just like, oh, so now you like this game.
I enjoyed this game, the gameplay too, but go on.
Oh, yeah, of course. But because we talk about games like Twilight Princess, in which this game obviously borrowed the controls from, except you're a lot more precise with the Wii remote, with the HD Motion Plus, or whatever they'd called it. And yeah, some people just, I don't know, some people just don't know how to use the Wii remote. That's probably just their problem. That's on them. But yeah, I never had a problem controlling this game. I don't think the controls are really anything I would say are a highlight of any sort. Of course, there's some cool uses of them, like the beetle. That's a really cool item that I always think back to. It has unique items that you never see, like Gust Bellows. It's just interesting things that you've never seen in other Zelda games before. But I don't know. The way that everything's segmented, it doesn't really gel well with me. There's a lot of fetch quests with this game that I'm not too fond of. There's some parts of every section of this game that I don't enjoy. Like, someone will probably mention that the Tatones in one of the sections of the area is a terrible time. Yeah. I'm not really a fan of the part where you lose all your equipment and you have to go around the Elden Mountain region to retrieve them again. That's just my perspective. But it does have one of the best mechanics of the time stones. That is fantastic. I love the concept. That's one of the best concepts I've ever seen executed in a Zelda game, and they should do that more. But overall, I mean, as much as I love the story, narrative, and gameplay, I would probably put this at a B tier for me. It's a B rank for Skyward Sword.
Okay.
All right, Brandon, take it away.
I'm pretty much in agreement on the story. I love it. I love Zelda as a character. I love Impa. This was the first game that had an Impa that I could care about because she's an actual person.
Yeah.
I love Groose. Yeah, this game has a great cast of characters, but there are a lot of low points for me. Basically, anytime I'm not in a dungeon, I'm not really having the best time in terms of a Zelda
Mhm.
game, there's not much of the actual exploration that's in there. I loved this game when it came out on Wii. I actually had a worse time playing it on Skyward Sword HD on the Switch. Not by much. The past me would have said this is an S tier, but current me I think thinks this is an A tier. Still very good.
Ooh, okay.
It sounds like we're at
Wow.
an A.
Yeah, I was gonna say
consensus.
probably split the diff between the S's, the B's, and the single A. I think an A tier is probably a fair middle ground for that.
Wow, we came in higher on this than I was expecting. I love it.
I like the spread. We've got 3 in S, A, and C, and B is just running away with it with 5. All right, we've got one more super chat here, I believe. Just one more.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep. Okay, so Disney Duncan back with $2 says, "I loved the Silent Realms in Skyward Sword. More power to you." I will say that was not my
Yeah.
favorite part of that
Another
game.
part I
Yeah.
don't
Right.
enjoy.
Yeah, I could have gone without those. But anyway, all right, that brings us to a game that I wish I could talk, or that I could open the floor for. We've got A Link Between Worlds, or Triforce of the Gods 2 if you're Japanese. Ash, why don't you open us up?
I adore this game, and those of you who've been following our work for a long time might know that Derek and I have had a long-term Cold War going on over which is better, A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds. And I want to make it very clear. Yes, I prefer A Link to the Past. However, if A Link to the Past is an S tier game, which it should be on here, A Link Between Worlds is like S minus. I think it's easily still an S tier game. I love it. Really, I finished it 3 times. That's how much I loved it. The only thing I don't really like about it is, while I do appreciate the non-linear approach and it made it a little bit more open world than the guided approach to A Link to the Past, I think that it has a really chilling effect on the difficulty curve. I didn't like that the final dungeon that I did felt as easy or easier than the first dungeon I did, compared to something like Turtle Rock in A Link to the Past, where you feel that difficulty climbing.
How do you feel
The stakes
about
getting higher.
original Zelda, where a lot of people will go around, get all the hearts, get the better sword, and then go into the first dungeon and make it a cakewalk?
I mean,
Like,
you
that's
can
sort of the
do
bonus.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that. I just personally didn't like that approach as much in A Link Between Worlds. That said, God, like Ravio's cool. I love the music. I love the 3D effects, the way it uses the stereoscopic 3D on the 3DS. I think this is an easy S tier. It's just not quite there for A Link to the Past to me, but it's still basically just underneath it, and easy S for me.
Ooh, that's a good one, Derek. Come on, let's hear that counter.
I mean, he said it's an S, and it's an S.
We agree on that, actually.
That's the
yeah.
thing. The big debate we have is whether Link Between Worlds or Link to the Past is better. And I'm telling you, Link Between Worlds is better. It does. Yes, it
We all
builds
gotta be
off
wrong
of what A Link to the
sometimes,
Past does, but it has a more interesting narrative. It has some fantastic dungeons. It has one of the best gimmicks in all of Zelda with the wall merge mechanic.
That is
and just
brilliant,
all the
yeah.
clever ways they integrate that into it. It almost doesn't even need the alternate world of low rule because of the wall merge. It is just one of the best, and another top 5 for me. It is really high up there for me as far as top Zelda games. It's fantastic. I love this game. Like I said, favorite of the handheld games, because I don't consider A Link Between Worlds a handheld game. It is a full-fledged Zelda game to me.
Yeah. All right, Daniel, let's hear it.
I'm on Team Derek with Link Between Worlds is better than A Link to the Past,
Ooh.
and that's a clear,
I think most
obvious
people
statement.
agree with that.
So the fact that this game does have probably the best dungeon design I've ever seen, with the fact that they use the wall merging so seamlessly through dungeons, and every single dungeon was satisfying to complete, where I find a solution. I'm like, aha! All these moments where I'm just like, yes, this is how this makes sense. It makes logical sense with the spatial awareness you have in the world, not just in dungeons but also in the overworld. It borrows a lot from A Link to the Past. It borrows the exact same overworld, essentially the light world, dark world mechanic with high roll and low roll, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. It does it very well. It does it in a way that's different enough from the original Link to the Past that makes it stand out.
Uh-oh, we lost Daniel.
I think we lost Daniel's
We
sound.
lost him again.
Oh no.
Oh, there
there
you
you
go.
are.
As soon as
Yeah,
he
now you're back.
regretted it, it came back.
Yeah.
Oh no. What did I last say? Did I say my rank?
Yeah, we didn't hear your rank.
Oh yeah. So basically, yeah, I would put this at an A tier for me. Solid A tier game.
Nice.
All right.
All right,
for this.
Brandon. Let's get your take on this.
I just finished beating this game again yesterday. This is the third time I played through it. I played through it twice in the weekend it came out. I beat it, and then I immediately played through it all over again on hero mode because I loved it that much. Link to the Past is a great game, and weirdly enough, none of the other future games really, borrow its sound effects or its visuals other than like Four Swords Adventures. So getting those little nostalgia bombs with Link Between Worlds certainly elevates it for me. And just having a game that's structured like this, in this sea of like 3D Zelda games was a nice change of pace at the time when it came out. Yeah, it's really hard to dislike, to be completely honest. I think the narrative is great, even though it's very brief. It's like Link to the Past, where you get it at the beginning and then you get it at the end. But the stuff at the end is so dang good that it really stands above. So I think I'm gonna put this in S tier.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, I've played A Link Between Worlds several times myself, probably 2 or 3 times all the way through. I love the heck out of it. To me, it's telling that it's the only other, aside from the original, numbered sequel to a Zelda game. Like in Japan, this is A Link to the Past Part 2, like numbered Part 2. And I think that doing that so many years after, like when you have the appreciation of the legacy, tells you how important, like how much care was put into this game by Nintendo. Like to name it as the sequel to what is one of the best Zelda games of all time, which automatically includes it as one of the best games of all time. And I will admit, Ash, I'm sorry. I think it's the superior game. I think
That's
that
fair.
I think that one of the things that it does really well, and it's the key point for me, is that by opening up the ability to get the quote-unquote dungeon items whenever you want, it frees the dungeon designs from being tied to a specific item. So like historically in Zelda games, I'm like, oh, this is the hook shot dungeon. I'm going to kill the boss with the hook shot, like long before I ever see him. And you don't have that with this game. It keeps you guessing, and I really love it for that. And like I said, the world of this game was so nice to come back to with a fresh coat of paint. And the 2D like wall painting mechanic is just so clever and so well utilized throughout the game. So if Link to the Past is an A, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I would agree with Brandon. This is either high A or S tier for me.
They should both be S.
Nope, only the one.
All right, so how many votes
Derek,
are there?
I was like, they should both be S, and Derek's like, no, only one.
No, I'm declaring this as a victory for me. This is me finally definitively defeating you.
Hey, I have my supporters too.
This is a historic
My
moment.
supporters too.
Wow.
So
you know what? Sometimes you got to walk the road less traveled and be
There you
daring,
go.
and that's
fair,
what I'm doing.
fair enough.
Is it
Fair enough.
going
Honestly,
to the S tier?
I'm used to me being in the minority on this, but people have shifted with me over the years. I feel
Right.
because for a while people called me insane. So
So
I was
we're
there
putting
with
this
you
bad
from
boy in
day
S
one,
tier,
Derek.
right?
yep.
All right,
S
I
tier.
guess we are.
Wow. All right. There are just 3 games left, and before we get into those, we have a couple of super chats. I don't know if it's ever, is it supposed to be like, are the 5 and the 4 an S and an A? I don't know, but either way, the FA54 is what I'm going to say, and I apologize if that's wrong. With 6 Peruvian Soul, just played and finished Link Between Worlds 2 months ago. S tier for me, but Dark Palace can suck it. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Fair.
Disney Duncan with $2. Ash, have you ever played Hero Mode in A Link Between Worlds?
Yes, multiple times, and it's still the same great game, just harder. Yeah.
And then finally, Toon J 723 with $2. It's not enough to succeed; others must fail. that sums that up.
I can't be
pretty
too hard on
nicely.
Ash because he also voted S, so it's fair enough.
Exactly.
All right,
Both
we're
great
getting
games.
into the we're getting close to the end here. I believe Derek, it's your turn for opening arguments, and we've got you've got Triforce Heroes. Go ahead.
I was so excited for Triforce Heroes
I
because
remember.
I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to relive the feeling of Four Swords Adventures, and it just isn't quite there. Like I think the biggest issue for me though is I played single player most of the time because I was doing a guide for it. I was doing a review for it. I just didn't have a consistent amount of people to play with at the time. It was tough to get other people, and I think that does make it suffer from a viewpoint. But there were moments where I got 3 people and all of us were working together to solve these problems and get these different outfits. And it is fun, but it's just not as fun as Four Swords Adventures. It's just not.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine. I think it might get a little more hate than it deserves because people didn't get to play it the best way. And when they played it online, it's against randoms, and that's not the best way to play this game. It's a C.
Ooh, all right.
Wow.
Daniel, how about you, my friend?
It's painfully average, unfortunately.
This is a game I don't really have any experience with. I wanted to play this multiplayer. Did not have people around me to play multiplayer with because you can't even do 2-player. It has to be 3 exactly. Which is again, multiplayer Zelda games. Why you do this? Why are you like this? So I can't really give it a fair rating. Should probably just move on to the next person because I don't have a hat in this one.
All right, Brandon, where you at?
I'm probably going to be the biggest supporter of this game. I played this game exclusively multiplayer, so I didn't bother playing it single player, but I was fortunate enough to be in that position.
I had no choice.
I played it with my wife and one of my friends.
Nice.
Obviously, she wasn't my wife at the time, but, that was a great bonding experience for us. Another reason this game stands out so much for me is it came to me at a very difficult time. I was just in the hospital for a week being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and nearly dying. So to come out of the hospital and going home and getting to play a new Zelda game with, my life partner as well as one of my good friends, it was just what I needed when I needed it. And for that, it's going to get a couple extra points. I'm going to put it in B.
Wow, Brandon, that is a heartwarming story, and it's really hard to follow it up, but I fucking hate this game. This game is not just a bad Zelda game, it's a bad game. Like, it escapes the boundary of... It is the one game on this list that, for me, does not exist in the bubble, but Zelda games are Zelda games. No. Throw this in with E.T. It sucks. Like,
wow.
I played this with people and couldn't stay awake during it. It was so ungodly boring and everything. Like, the mechanics of having 3 links was just so wildly overused. And when it wasn't being annoying because you had to stack 3 links like a totem pole for the 58th time in one level, people were spamming the goddamn emotes constantly, littering your screen with Link with pom-poms. It's funny the first 100 times. You can stop now. F tier. I hate it.
Were you playing with randoms, Steve?
I was playing with my friends.
Oh, your friends suck.
I still hated it. They're here now. I'm going to pop this door open and remind them how much that game sucks.
It's me, right? I believe
it is you. Yes.
Okay. So I don't hate this game as much as Steve does, but I don't like it very much. I find it personally offensive that apparently this is supposed to be the same Link as the Link Between Worlds Link. I find that downright offensive. I think that this game has flashes of brief flashes of brilliance when you're playing with the right people. And the multiplayer really comes together, but those moments are so fleetingly rare and it's not very fun to play single player. And I feel so bad about what you had to go through, Derek. And honestly, a lot of the memories I have, even playing multiplayer when we were doing coverage at the old place, aren't particularly positive ones. So I have a bit of a thing around this game, and I was originally going to say F, but I think I could probably. It has a good soundtrack, and like I said, there are flashes of brilliance, as fleeting as they are. So I think I could bump it up to a D, but it's not no higher than a D. No way.
Wow.
We have an F, a D, a C, and a B.
That's wild.
That is the most divisive game.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So let's see.
Daniel,
I think
I'll let you declare based on those arguments. Like, what are you feeling? Like,
just 'cause I don't have an opinion. I don't know. This averages out to like a C or so. I would put it probably as a C. It's still, it has.
Is it better than Four Swords on the Game Boy?
Yes.
No.
Easily.
Way. What?
No.
100% a better game.
Way.
I can't answer that. I haven't played it, but I would.
It's been too long.
I would never willingly play Four Swords.
Okay, let me reframe it for you this way. Is it as good as Oracle of Ages?
I haven't played that game.
Triforce
I can't
Heroes.
tell you.
I
I've not
fucking
played
dare you.
that one. That's the thing.
We're picking all
I'm
the
like,
games that
I
we
can't-
haven't played.
I know I haven't played it either, so I'm literally just sowing discord here. But all right,
I think
begrudgingly.
that makes a good point. I think I can see it being put in D in that case. I'm sorry, Brandon. I know it has a special place, but I can see that point.
Boom.
I love it. I love you, Brandon, but it's an easy D for me.
Y'all have bad opinions.
Listen, just because you survived something terrifying doesn't make this game good. You were high on life the whole time you were playing it. All right.
Yeah, this game's better than
You
Death.
had to be there.
I
you had to
lived,
be.
but the fourth purple Link didn't. He's canonically dead in that game.
Poor Link.
Oh man, that's fucked up. All right, let's see. We've got one more super chat. Yeah, one more. Disney Duncan with $5. Steve, what's better, Twilight Princess or Triforce Heroes? Twilight Princess all
Oh,
day.
easily.
Yeah. That is a slam dunk for me. I actually enjoyed playing Twilight Princess. It's just not my favorite Zelda game. I hated playing Triforce Heroes. All right. All right. I have a feeling this one's not going to be as divisive. Next
I don't
up,
think so.
Breath of the Wild, and Daniel, you get to deliver our opening argument for it.
The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, is an S tier. All right, Brandon, go ahead.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is an S tier. Just keep the train going. No, go ahead.
All
Daniel.
right.
Did you have more to say?
No, I don't think he does.
Okay.
He's like, that was it.
Okay. No, this game, I mean, it changed so much of not just Zelda games, but just the gaming atmosphere. There's influences that we see now today. It does open world in a way that I don't think, I can't imagine many games can replicate. And those that have tried to, many of them, almost all of them, have not come close to what experiences, what kind of feelings that you can get from Breath of the Wild. It's one of those games where you obviously put the gameplay much more higher than the story, because there isn't really much of a story there to speak of. The ones that is there,
Oh no.
Man, it
Lost
cut him
him again.
off.
Yeah.
you can meet them. And then just the fact that, you know, well, God, there's so much. How can I condense this into 30 seconds? It's
I
impossible.
know.
The game is too big. I'll probably just bring up topics as
Right.
you guys go along, but it's fine.
There you go.
Breath of the Wild,
What about
cooking
you,
good,
Brandon?
climbing good, fighting good, Ganon good, graphics good.
Climbing is bad in the rain. I hope they fix that.
True.
It's terrible.
I played this game for like well over 100 hours. I've never played a Zelda game, a single Zelda game for that long, and enjoy it as much as I did Breath of the Wild. Just that the first like 20, 30 hours of that game, my friend Joe always describes as magic, and I couldn't agree anymore. Like, you're just stuck in this mystery of like what happened to Hyrule. What is Hyrule? Because like discovering it for the first time is just a really magical thing. Like you'll keep running into things that you've never seen before. You'll have a goal in mind, you'll start heading that way, and then you'll see like 7 other things you want to go do first. Even playing it again just a few weeks ago, I was running into the same problem. I'm like, I can't focus. There's just so many things I see and I want to do them.
This game is adventure. It's the idea of what Miyamoto wanted and envisioned with the very first Zelda game, just fully brought into fruition.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
for that alone, just the sense of adventure that this game brings, like, that's an S tier, baby.
Yeah, like I said, easy S. I don't need to go further than that.
All right.
you
Bear with me here. I don't really like open world games much, so it is massively to Breath of the Wild.
Monster.
No. Let me finish. So it is a massive credit to Breath of the Wild that I loved it as much as I did and played it for as long as I did. Obviously, it overhauled so much of what makes open world games the way they are, and that made it easier for me to get into it. There is a genuine sense of just the joy of discovery and adventure in this game. I think it has among the worst dungeons in the series, though. The Divine Beasts suck. And I don't, while there is a story, and it's too reductive to say there isn't one, I don't like how it's told. So there are, I think, criticisms that get a little glossed over, but it's still an S. But it's probably the lowest S out of all of us for me, but it is still an S. And yeah.
All right, and Derek.
it's so weird because you look at where we're comparing it to with all these other Zelda games, and it's so unlike any of them. The closest comparison really is to the original Legend of Zelda, and how it just really did promote that sense of discovery. And it is phenomenal in that way. It is so unique, but I think it almost fails in a way to invoke that sense of Zelda. It's its own new thing, which is not a bad thing at all. It's the fact that it's stretched out to something new. Zelda needed something new at that point, but there was just too few returning Zelda elements. But there's a ton to like about this game. I put in just as many hours as you guys. It was phenomenal. I did everything I could just because I was that sucked into it. And I think this is the second best Zelda. Outside of Skyward Sword, this is the best Zelda. You have to dig for it, but she is like, this is a Zelda with actual struggles. You don't see that too often. Mm-hmm. And I think that really does add a lot to it. That being said, I think I'd be the lowest of all of us and put it in A tier.
Oh, wow.
I'm leaving enough room that I think Tears of the Kingdom can improve on some of the shortcomings I had with Breath of the Wild. And trust me, it's a phenomenal game, easy game of the year, of a change in the landscape of all of gaming. But as a Zelda game, I think it's only A. I don't find myself interested in revisiting that much.
Oh, and here I thought I'd be closest to an A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is surprising.
But it still reaches an S because of all you guys.
For sure.
Right.
So here we are at the end of ranking all of the mainline Zelda games. We have 5 S tier, 3A, 5 B tier, 3C, and 3D. Although one of those should have gotten an F.
Yeah.
But we do have one last box left. So let's make some ignorant ass predictions about where we think Tears of the Kingdom is going to end up on the scale. And Derek, since you closed this off for Breath of the Wild, we'll start with you.
I put Breath of the Wild at A from everything I've heard, and I've stayed away from a lot of stuff. I really don't know what I'm getting into, but based on reviews and what I've heard, just in bits and pieces about this game, I think this will be the combination I wanted from Breath of the Wild, where it takes the elements that were missing from that made it a Zelda game and add it in to make it something just better. I think this is the true S tier.
All right. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, this is the game where I think they're definitely taking what they learned, the criticisms with Breath of the Wild, because it was a new formula entirely in that time, and just improving upon it, building upon it. Just a point about Breath of the Wild, like it's just a completely different structure that I don't mind that there isn't your traditional dungeons, that there's all these shrines. I kind of prefer these bite-sized areas and pockets of solving puzzles, even though they all look the same, honestly. But I enjoyed that more than an actual dungeon, because I can take care of the shrine and continue going on to the next waypoint that I put for myself or go somewhere else. And that's going to be quite a thing to manage in Tears of the Kingdom when there's a whole elevation above and below you besides just the groundwork of Hyrule. I think it's going to land in an S rank for many people if it's going to improve upon all these traits that Breath of the Wild built a foundation upon, and will see through in ways that we probably don't even expect so far.
Nice. All right, Brandon, let's hear it.
I'd be very surprised if I didn't think this game was better than Breath of the Wild by the time I finish it. Just like you guys all said, this game has technically been in development for
6
eons.
years.
Well, you have to add in the Breath of the Wild development time. It's
That's
the same
true.
engine, it's the same map.
True.
That's compounded. So this is a lot of experience that the developers have put into this experience. I didn't mean to say experience so many times, but you get the point.
A lot of experience in the experience.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be incredible. I'll be disappointed if it's not better than Breath of the Wild. I'll put it that way.
Okay, that's fair. I'm the only one that's played it so far. I played it in New York for a couple of hours, and I played it actual post-release for an hour before the show. I'm not going to say anything about it, but what I will say is that from what I have gathered since my preview, it does seem significantly more lore heavy, which, as you know, based on my Skyward Sword, I'm all about that. The other part, though, is we haven't mentioned John once, so I feel like I have to mention one of the things John really likes about Breath of the Wild. And he and I are of the same mind that the opening moments of Breath of the Wild are when it's the strongest, when Link is at his weakest.
Hard
and
agree.
I feel that Tears of the Kingdom extends that much further into the game from what I can glean. Link is not... He doesn't get powerful as quickly, and I like that a lot. So I would say that I'm predicting that I will, the same as the rest of you, I will probably like Tears of the Kingdom more.
Cool. I think I'm... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say finally close this out, Ash.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree. I mean, I placed Breath of the Wild at a low S, and based on what I've heard, the reviews I've read, what I've heard, it improves the two things I thought were weakest about Breath of the Wild, which is the story, or which are the story and dungeons, based on what I've heard. If that's true, then by default, it's going to come in above Breath of the Wild for me. My only concern is that it might not feel as transformative as Breath of the Wild did, because you can only have that once, probably. But that still doesn't mean it's everything else is going to be probably excellent about it. So I have a feeling it's going to come in above Breath of the Wild for me, based solely on if what I've heard about the story and the dungeons is true. If so, it wins by default.
All right, that wraps it up for us. We've got one final super chat from Disney Duncan with $5, who writes, "For me, Breath of the Wild is S plus infinite." Damn. Where will you go first in Tears of the Kingdom? Don't know. Probably the new places.
Where do we even start? We don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go get my cool arm. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know that that's going to be a great day for Link, but I think it's pretty neat. So stay tuned for us to find out how he gets that. It's probably bad. Anyway, that's going to do it for us for this episode 56, a double-length episode of the GVGcast. We thought it would take
Honestly,
an hour.
We knew this would take a bit. We got through it as quickly as we could.
Exactly. But we couldn't do this without all y'all's help. Thank you so much for helping us make crazy long Zelda discussions in the middle of the night. Clearly our jam. We couldn't do this without all of your help and support. Whew. We have a ton of
Steve,
people. Oh,
really quick, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, I know we didn't do patron topics this week, but I believe, Steve, we're going to do some of those in the post show. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. We're probably going to have a shorter than usual post show.
Yeah, I figured.
Because it's like the middle of the night already.
It's getting late.
But yes, we have a Patreon exclusive post show that we'll be heading out to if you want to hear your topics read. But anyway, sorry. We have to do a special thank you to our patrons at the producer tier and above. Y'all make this show happen. You know who you are. I'm completely thrown off at this point. But thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you see your name on screen here, you know who you are. But even if you're not one of these wonderful folks, we love you all the same. I'm buying time until the executive producers come up. We have to give an extra special thank you to them. Those fine folks include Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Just Brian, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Blake, Critter XD, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedran, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao. Thanks for the Mario movie plumbing fan, by the way, Benny. I appreciate that. Blindman, Azran127, Black King, Pagrema, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Kyle, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Doug Showmix, Andrew Medeiros, Brady Power, Darchie, Becca, Rocks the Cat, Killamox, Sean Davis, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Ambers, CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Reoner, Nathan Steele, Rain and Clouds, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Grantles, Ravelox, my mom, hi mom, Mega Amster, Skull Kid Tiger, Dark Steel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jersic, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, Derek, Colin, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Moon Knight, Brendan Hesse, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakeland, Longboy Shiggy, Aramis Baramis, Dat Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Kyle Gamer and Barry Rookie, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Lady Maxillary, Peyton Thiel, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Jung Ant, and finally, last but not least, Ryan Hanley. Whew! All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of the GVG Cast. I am accidentally playing the Game Wars ad one more time. That's going to do it for us. It's been a long night. We're tired. That's your definitive ranking of official Zelda games. I hope you're happy, safe, and healthy wherever you are. We will see you next week for GVG Cast at its regular scheduled time of Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, folks, good night and good vibes. Bye,
Happy
everyone.
Zelda weekend.
Bye.
Again,
Happy
See ya.
Zelda.
go play Zelda.
Awesome. All right. Unfortunately, I have to duck out hardcore to get stuff ready for Bissell's birthday, so I
Yeah, no
cannot.
worries,
I have
man.
to miss the post show, but have a fun post show. I'm sorry.